Tech Sideline is presented by First Bank and Trust Company, the bank that puts you first. They can meet your banking and financing needs for personal, agricultural, business, commercial, mortgages, and so much more. Visit firstbank.com to learn more.
What's up, Hokie Nation, and welcome into episode 494 of the Tech Sideline Podcast. Football at Virginia Tech is just about 4 weeks away, so who better to bring on than talk Virginia Tech football than the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer, another Virginia Sports Hall of Famer in Bill Roth. He joins us next on episode 494 of the Tech Sideline Podcast, which starts right now. And we record on Monday, August 3rd, 2026 from the Tech Solutions Studio in Blacksburg, Virginia. Remember to like, subscribe, and refer this show to a friend. I'm your host, Carter Hill. To my left is our lead analyst and columnist, Chris Coleman. Behind the scenes is our director of media, Nick Brown. And joining us across the way today is the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer, and again, another Virginia Sports Hall of Famer in Bill Roth. So welcome to the show. We appreciate it.
It's nice to be here. It's nice to visit with you and Chris and Nick and talk Hokies football. We are inching closer, 4 weeks out.
I know. I've had a busy summer, by the way. World Cup, hanging out down in Florida. How have you been as a whole? Let's throw football out for a minute. How has Bill Roth been the last couple months?
The World Cup was really fun to go to. We had a bunch of Hokie folks stay at my place. I have a second place down in Florida, and we had a really good time watching some football, as they say. And we saw Cape Verde, which was one of the real fun stories of the World Cup. And then to watch Ronaldo in action, the Portugal-Colombia game was a real treat. So it was fun. It was a great experience to see the World Cup up close.
Is that on your bucket list, Chris? A World Cup game?
If it was, I would have gone.
This year? Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
You got to enjoy the World Cup, though, in your own way, which was good. So.
When I was in Atlanta, the Mexico versus England, the Mexico game watching party in Atlanta was at the Battery. It was me and like 5,000 Mexico fans. And I think I was the only person there that didn't speak Spanish. Yeah. But that was a very interesting
we picked up on that too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Uruguay. Yeah, I definitely had to use my high school Spanish several times.
Miami Stadium, right? No Hard Rock. Miami Stadium.
It didn't look anything like where the Hokies and Canes play. They had covered all the signage. It was very, very FIFA sterile, so to speak. Mm-hmm. It was really interesting how they operated down there. But it was fun. Lots of singing and swaying. And, boy, South American soccer fans are very passionate.
Were you in the same end zone as the end zone where, quote unquote, that happened 2 years ago in 2024? Yes, really?
Yeah, we were down there.
Did that cross your mind at all?
It did.
Yeah,
we would have had a good view of the catch that was overturned.
Yes. Great night. Well, not a good night for the Hokies. It was a good night at
let's
down
talk
in
about
South
more
Florida.
pleasant
Let's
things,
go. Let's go right into it. So first off, before we get into Virginia Tech this year, and I want to talk about all sorts of stuff, and me and Chris have talked about it when it comes to Brian White and James Franklin and Virginia Tech football this season. Obviously, everybody wants to hear about Bill Roth and your time at Virginia Tech too, but just something to kind of get into it. You got to Virginia Tech in 1988, correct? So that was what? Help me with some mental math. That was 38
years ago.
8 years ago.
Thanks for that.
I'm sorry. Like when you look at Virginia Tech and Blacksburg,
Thank you, Carter.
Yeah, I know. Terrible way to start the podcast. But when you look at Blacksburg and Virginia Tech now, is it crazy to see how much this has all changed in the last 38 years?
Well, in the last 10 months, I think this has probably been the biggest transformative period that we've had since I've been here. And it's continuing, obviously, now as we look for a new president of the university. But for athletics, what has happened in the last 10 months, other than getting into the ACC, has been probably the biggest advancement that we've made. The way the whole model is changing, the way I think we're all on the same page, so to speak, the synergy from advancement to admissions to the board of visitors to our new president to athletics director to the football coach to all of our coaches, to see everybody rowing in the same direction is really exciting for me. You know, I think one of Frank Beamer's greatest attributes was his ability to get everyone in each part of our university to buy in. And we can see what happens at Tech when everyone is focused on the same goal. And I sense that now. I mean, we've got so much enthusiasm with Coach Franklin, but it really started before that, right? With the Invest to Win. And And I'm so excited. Our university is changing very rapidly, as all universities are right now in higher education and in athletics as well. But we've got a great opportunity here, and it's really exciting to be here right now because, man, we've got a coach, an elite coach, and we know what our potential is here when everyone is rowing in the same direction, and that's where we are.
I'm trying to think of like the most exciting times ever at Virginia Tech. So I'm thinking like the lead up to the 95 Sugar Bowl.
Yes.
The entire 99 season. That day in July 2003 when we found out we were getting into the ACC. Winning the ACC in 2004. Maybe like winning the ACC in basketball out of nowhere when nobody expected it. How do you think this time period right now at Virginia Tech compares to those times?
I think it's right up there. So even before I got here, I think it's probably, and you would have to ask someone who's the next generation up, so to speak, but when Virginia Tech hired the North Carolina football coach, which was Bill Dooley, and he came in here, and that was a big move, right? Because he was successful. He was recruiting so many players from the Tidewater area. He came in, we need to expand the stadium, which they did. The East Side was expanded when Coach Dooley was here, and he was both the football coach and the AD. Now, there were some negatives that happened as a result of that.
Sure.
But I think the enthusiasm when Coach Dooley first came here was somewhat similar to Coach Franklin coming. Like, we can't believe we hired the North Carolina football coach back in whatever that was, 1985, 4. But I think the same thing now. Like, we can't believe the Penn State football coach is coming to Tech. And I think the enthusiasm across the board has been amazing, and that's the beauty of Coach Franklin, because he's been able to energize the recruiting base, the fan base, the wealthy fan base. He understands it, and that's what's really exciting. He's a difference maker. He's a program builder, and that's what we needed. And so it's a perfect fit. So I think that's the only thing that I could think that would be similar, getting into the ACC, and now that what's happened here in the last few months.
It's funny you bring up Dooley because I'm working on a column for tomorrow, and I actually said in there, hiring James Franklin, like from an energy standpoint, is like hiring a Buzz Williams and hiring Bill Dooley, right? So that's like Buzz Williams brought a boost to the basketball program that Virginia Tech needed at the time, because I don't think a lot of people in that athletic department at the time realized what it really took to be successful in basketball. And I thought Bill Dooley took the athletic department to another level, maybe not quite exactly how you want to take it there, considering what happened at the end, but just a new school of thought and kind of dragging the athletic department up with you. And Franklin to me is very, very, very similar because he's been making a lot of changes in there that, quite frankly, wouldn't have been made most likely without him. So yeah, Bill Dooley for me is a very good comparison.
And then the whole transformative period of the university, you'd almost have to go back to the 60s to see anything that would relate or be comparable to what's happening now.
When they built Lane and Castle.
Correct.
What's been your impressions being around James Franklin? Because you've been around him obviously in some public settings, but some private settings too. And to piggyback off of it, like we're during the football season last year, and obviously the season's not going the way anybody around Blacksburg and Virginia Tech would want it to go. But at the same time, the whole season, I remember like the Florida State broadcast, you went on the air with Zach and Mike 2 hours before kickoff and specifically addressed the James Franklin rumors. That was all everybody was talking about over the course of the season. So I guess this is not something I learned in your class. I'm going to throw two questions into one here. Your view of James Franklin and your view of everything that happened around the James Franklin rumors last fall in October and November.
Well, to answer your first question, he knows what he's doing, and it really, really shows. So those few years that I wasn't doing Tech football games and I was doing these national games, the day before we would always meet with coaches. You would meet with the home team and the visiting team, and sometimes on a Zoom, but often in person. And I had a chance to do, 4 or 5 University of Cincinnati games when Coach Fickle was the head coach. Great staff. Mike Denbrock was offensive coordinator, but I remember sitting in that room at Cincinnati across from Coach Freeman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this guy's special. Like, I know you're just the defensive coordinator at Cincinnati, but you could tell within 2 minutes he's elite. He's elite. And it's the same with Coach Franklin. It doesn't take long to sit across from him. I know he's been in here as well. He's very businesslike. He knows what he's doing. He values time. I think that he's incredibly efficient. His vision of every aspect of the program, whether it's the stadium, whether it's recruiting, whether it's offensive play calling, whether it's coaching assignments, he's really thought it out. He's very intelligent and very efficient. That's what I would get. And you can tell right away.
It was 12 months ago that this process got started publicly with the Board of Visitors meeting last August.
Yeah.
Since then, we've gotten new head football coach, new athletic director, a new president is incoming at some point.
New rector, too.
A new rector. There's a committee overseeing athletics. There's Hokie Ventures. There's a $70 million donation. There's probably a whole bunch of things that I can't think of off the top of my head. Have you ever seen this much change in a university across the board in a 12-month span?
No, and certainly not since I've been here
Right.
at Tech. Now, when we got into the ACC, a lot of things changed in a hurry. And to their credit, the university's administration at that point had us set up pretty well. We didn't really struggle when we got into the ACC. I think a lot of people thought we were going to. Mm-hmm. I think our jump to the ACC is kind of similar to what SMU has done. Right, SMU has come into the ACC from a group of 5, and they've lost 3 football games.
They were in the playoffs their first year. Right?
Yeah, I mean, right. So they were obviously ready to compete at this level, as we were as well. But no, what's happened here at Tech has been it's been amazing, and a lot of change very quickly. But it's really exciting. And I mentioned this, I don't know, back in maybe 20 years ago. I said if Virginia Tech was a stock, you'd buy it.
Oh, nice quote.
And I think that's where we are right now. I don't know. You can't buy or sell stock, obviously, for a university or an athletics
Give
department.
it time.
Yeah, give it time.
Yeah.
With where things are going.
Yeah.
We're gonna list the Virginia Tech athletics on NASDAQ. Yeah. Wow. Hokies go IPO, right?
Yeah,
right. I would buy.
I would buy too. I know who you're not buying stock on. That's a podcast for another day. We talked about them. They are the folks in Chapel Hill, and I'm not asking Bill to comment on that. That was particularly for Chris. But anyway, let's continue with the podcast. James Franklin. I want to go back to last fall a little bit. And when he was introduced, I guess it was the middle of November, leading into that Miami game. You guys had him on the broadcast that weekend. How were you taken aback? What was your impression of James Franklin from the moment that you first met him, to kind of piggyback on something that I was asking earlier in the podcast too?
Personable. It was the Miami game. I vividly, I remember we were watching the Canes, and they kept flipping the ball to Tony, and he goes, "What year is he?" I said, "He's a freshman, coach." And he went, "Oh boy."
Yeah.
I do remember that exchange. I was very interested to get his take on the fact that we really weren't having a great season, as everyone knows, yet the enthusiasm at Lane that day for the Canes and the Hokies was really, really special. And it always is. And I remember talking with him during the break about how impressed he was with our fan base and the passion that we had.
You've gotten to spend some time with Brian White. You were on his flight from Boca Raton, right?
Yep.
And then you've gotten to sit down with him. What's your take on him so far?
So Brian's background is on the revenue generation side. His first job was with ISP, which, there's some irony. It was 30 years ago this month, August of '96, when ISP took over the multimedia rights at Virginia Tech. And we had never had a multimedia rights holder that sold things. And that changed so much of what we do here, the revenue that it brought into Virginia Tech and some of the things that we were able to do. Now, it also coincided with the Vic era and whatnot, but we were positioned with ISP. Well, that was Brian's first job. And so he sees it not necessarily as a coach would. Many athletics directors are former coaches. But he's the son of an athletic director, but his business acumen really comes through. And revenue generation, not just in philanthropic and non-philanthropic things. In other words, not just raising money and not just selling sponsorship, but his mind. I'll give you a couple of examples. So he's at FAU, and he looks at their basketball facility down there, which is nice. It's a nice facility, but it's not Chapel Hill or UVA.
You wouldn't think they'd make the Final Four when you look at their facility.
Right.
Well, but what he did was he was able to develop a relationship with Pat Riley and the Heat down in Miami, so that the Heat would do their mini camp at FAU. Now there's nothing wrong with the Miami Heat's practice facility, and there are a lot of arenas or places that the Heat could do their mini camp other than an hour and 20 minutes up the road in Boca Raton. But he was able to generate the relationship with the Heat and Riley, so the Heat do their mini camp at FAU. He worked out a deal with FIFA so that a World Cup team based out of the FAU soccer complex. And again, individually, it may not be that big of a deal, but all these little things collectively show that he's got that type of creative mind. And it's really exciting to see that, because he looked at their soccer facility as a place to make money during the off season because the World Cup was coming. And I think he and Ron Gottlieb now, they look at Lane as an asset, but it has to be used more than 6 or 7 or 8 times a year to take advantage of it. And I think that's what we're going to see, as he's talked about since he's been here.
Now, see, what I want to do, people are talking about huge concerts in Lane, which I'm in favor of course. I think this area lacks an amphitheater. You can go to Roanoke.
Yeah, Elmwood.
To that place.
Downtown Roanoke.
Elmwood. But I think English Field is perfect. Just put a stage out there around home plate. You've already got the seating. You've already got the concessions, all of that. And you could get some smaller acts to play, because a lot of times smaller concerts are more fun than big ones, because, it's more intimate. Yeah. So that's my outside the box
I'm sure
idea.
they'd be interested in
sure
hearing.
they
Yeah,
would.
you should talk to him,
I'm
Chris.
sure they'll give me a nice commission for that.
Yeah.
It's we know it, the Blacksburg and Lane Stadium, we're never going to be a World Cup host. We don't have the hotels. I think everyone understands that. And I don't know what we can do, but whether it's concerts, whether it's Savannah Bananas, whether it's, I don't know, could we host the Winter Classic, have an NHL game?
Yeah, the
I
Caps
don't know.
play here. Yeah, that'd be cool.
But their minds work that way, and I think that in this era of athletics, it's needed.
Brian White mentioned, I believe with you too, when you did your sit down with him last week at Lane, he wants to have 2 to 3 concerts a year in Lane Stadium. Now that's a process. Give it 2-3 years for it to all play out. But, he's asking the fan base, who does Virginia Tech fans want to see in Lane Stadium? So let's have some fun with Bill Roth. Who do you want to see playing Lane Stadium over the next 5-6 years?
I would go country music venue.
Yeah.
If you could get Metallica back, that'd be great. It might be hard to recreate that.
AC/DC was at Madison recently.
Yeah,
and I think they sold that out.
But I think he was on the right track with country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, as I joked with him, I don't know that we do World Cup. I don't think we do Shakira and Justin Bieber.
I would go to Shakira.
You would go to Shakira?
Yeah.
You think
Shakira?
Shakira?
I didn't go to Metallica.
Oh, my
I would
goodness.
go to Shakira.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Would you get a Shakira? Of course you would, right? Come on,
I don't
but
know.
you're from South Florida.
It would be like that Columbia soccer game, like no one speaks English. Yeah,
Shakira.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so Brian White, James Franklin, that's going to be, obviously football is the priority. Everybody knows that across the country, and it needs to be the priority. So in your opinion, you're back and forth with Brian White, whether it be on the plane or talking to him on air or off the air over the last month. What makes him and James Franklin such nice partners here at Virginia Tech?
I think they both understand where the game is going and the business side of it. I mean, I think right now we're in a really good spot, right? We haven't lost a game. There's all this positive momentum. But I think that, Brian's essentially from the royal family of collegiate administration because of his dad and his brother down at Tennessee. But his other brother's the head men's basketball coach at Georgia. So he's got this athletics family, and I think he sees things through a very unique lens. He's one of the most qualified AD hires because of his background that we ever could have come up with. I think it's a credit to the committee. There were a lot of good applicants for this athletic director's position, and his background. He grew up having dinner with a gentleman that was one of the most accomplished directors of athletics over the last half century. So some of it's going to rub off, and I know a lot of it has.
Yeah. These days, it's imperative that your head coach and your football coach see eye to eye, right? Like, this whole process, you know, you're going to have Brian White and James Franklin talk a lot in the process. And if Franklin says, I don't think I can work with that guy, you can't hire him, right? And vice versa. If you've already got a sitting athletic director, you can't hire a football coach that doesn't see eye.
No, but like we talked, it goes beyond that. It goes up to the board and the president as well, because if you don't have that alignment, which was really one of the overused words in November, I don't want to get back to the Tar Heels, but you can see when there's a disconnect, what can happen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I was actually talking with somebody at the athletics staff about this, and you know, Michigan has so much money, it can make these colossal missteps along the way and buy themselves out of it. Mm-hmm. In football specifically, but more than that too, right? I mean, the last two football coaches that they've been major scandals. They've had, I mean, when Michigan messes up now, they mess up.
Yeah,
and
they make it count.
But they have so much money and so much academic cachet institutionally that they can survive that. Very few schools can. And so you have at Virginia Tech, which is probably the case of 95% of the schools, when you've got your board and your president and your AD and your coaches all on the same page, that's really, really exciting. It's exciting for me because everyone I talk to is saying the same thing, and they mean it, and that's why it's a stock you'd buy. But we've got a really good chance here because of that partnership.
Yeah, it's like the Dodgers and the Yankees can afford a couple bad contracts, right? But the Reds can't. So Virginia Tech, while Virginia Tech, they're not at the bottom of the total poll in terms of resources, but they're not right at the top either. So they're one of those programs that has to make their money count.
By the way, I'm sure there's someone at Michigan that's going to shoot me an angry DM.
No question.
No, you're good.
But they have, but that in a way is to Michigan's credit,
right?
Because of what they have built over the last 100 years. But I mean, they win the national championship in men's basketball. Their head coach bolts. They're not going to miss a beat.
Yeah. National title in football and basketball the last 5 years. Carolina, on the flip side, you look at the results. That's your comparison right there. But all right, with that being said, let's step aside and hear from Tyrus Holmes here in episode 494 of the Tech Sideline Podcast.
Are you ready for a custom home tailored to your distinctive lifestyle? At Tyrus Homes, a leading custom home builder in the New River Valley, we pride ourselves on crafting exceptional residences that our clients love to call home. Whether you're a first-time buyer, a growing family in search of more room, or an active adult seeking a relaxing retreat, looking for a high-end custom home that offers luxury and sophistication, we have the perfect solution for you. Discover how we can bring your dream home to life at tyrushomes.com. That's TYRIS homes.com. In real estate, it's not just about buying or selling. It's about finding a place that truly feels like home. That's what drives Richmond-based agent Christine Shepard with Joyner Fine Properties. With more than 30 years of experience, Christine brings a calm, thoughtful, and highly personalized approach, along with a designer's eye that helps buyers see potential and sellers showcase their homes beautifully. A proud fourth-generation Virginia Tech Hokie, Christine leads with a deep sense of community and loyalty, helping clients not just find a house, but truly find where they belong. If you're considering your next move, trust Christine Shepard for a real estate experience rooted in expertise, design, and genuine Hokie heart.
And welcome back to episode 494 of the Tech Sideline Podcast. Bill Roth joins us from the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center today, and we roll on. First, before we get into him, which I know everybody loves to explore and everything, I want to keep focusing on the 2026 Virginia Tech football team. We talked about Brian White, we talked about James Franklin, but the team itself, I know there's a lot of, some people think they're maybe going to finish higher than maybe others do, and some people maybe think nationally lower than some others do. But I'm not asking for a prediction, but in your eyes, you know, you look at this team as a whole, what excites you most about Virginia Tech football heading into 2026?
Well, we saw them play practice in the spring, and the depth on the coaching staff is the first thing that jumps out at me. I look out there, there's Danny Rocco, there's Warren Ruggiero, there's James Franklin, there's Coach Chaos. I mean, we've got guys that have succeeded at the highest level. There's a lot of knowledge out there, not only football X's and O knowledge, but the ability to work with high-level players. So that impressed me in the spring. I think I went out to off-season workouts last week. They're bigger. I mean, it has been a while since we've seen these guys on the field, and they're flipping these big tractor trailer tires over our line is massive. It's the biggest, best looking group that I can remember us having. So I'm looking forward to that. And then some of the guys, a couple of guys that missed the spring. I want to see Marcellus Hawkins running around out there. Cam Chadwick didn't participate in the spring. I think he's a guy in the defensive backfield that'll be involved. Everyone's going to talk about the quarterbacks. That's going to be probably that's the low-hanging fruit on what to watch for. But you need more than one quarterback anyway, so I want to see that whole QB room. It's a machine right now. This goes back to Coach Franklin's plan. He really knows what he's doing. This isn't a learning on the job situation. The weight room people, our training staff, the coaching staff, the analysts, there's such precision to what they're doing that it's really, for me, been really cool to watch. And then, once the season starts, we're going to get to see them game prep. We haven't seen that yet. Right? We've seen lots of practices in the spring, and we'll see them here in the next 3 weeks. But how we get ready for, a fun 14-week schedule for 12 games.
I think when you look at the makeup of this roster, obviously the Hokies are going to be better than they were last year. But I think when you really look at the makeup, 2027 and 2028, this core group of players seems built for those 2 years, just with their ages.
Well, we don't know what the whole portal situation is going to look like also. I mean, I don't know. We may, if things settle down, which knock on wood will, this is what our roster, we have a sense of what our 28 team is going to look and feel like. Mm-hmm. Hopefully there'll be a couple of additions as well. But, the quarterback's the key thing to it. And someone's going to emerge, right? There's someone on everyone's roster who is going to surprise in the next 4 or 5 weeks and really emerge and then have a star season, right? So I mentioned Tony from Miami. Like it wouldn't surprise me. Now we know him, right? Because he's been around. But it wouldn't surprise me 6-8 weeks from today, everybody's going, man, where did this Jeffrey Overton come from?
Oh, yeah.
Because we know him. We know what he's all about. We know the type of player he was. And I think he could be that guy. He could be our Tony. I hope he is. Right. He hopes he is, right? And because there's someone out there, maybe it's someone else. I don't know. But that's what I'm looking forward to seeing here in the next month or so.
What do you make of this schedule, by the way? Particularly the way it starts and then November with SMU, Clemson, and Miami on the road. What do you make of the schedule as a whole in 2026?
Well, I think it's crazy that we're in the ACC. We're not playing a single North Carolina team.
That's true.
I've been to SMU. It's very nice. We've been to the West Coast. It's cool. I don't want to do Boston, Miami, Dallas, and San Francisco in the same season on the road. And our closest conference road game's Clemson. And it'd be nice. It'd be nice to take the drive down to Wake Forest or Chapel Hill or Duke or NC State, but we're missing them all completely.
Yeah,
that's the only thing. And but it's cyclical, and we'll have years that we don't play the California teams.
Have you been to Cal before at UCLA? Have you done a game?
No.
You had been to Stanford though, correct?
A couple of times, yes.
Okay. All right.
He's done a couple games at UCLA.
Yeah. Cal, yeah, true.
Yeah. That they played that year at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. 2015 UCLA?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. All right. With that being said, I want to talk about you a little bit. And everybody always, anytime you get Bill Roth on the podcast,
you can ask me who my favorite student is?
Well, no.
Because I don't mind sitting in front of the Hokie Nation and talking how great Nick Brown was.
Well, yeah, exactly. And he's 2 years graduated at this point. Hey, that was a good man, and he takes care of Baxter when you're on the road. So former sports director for 3304 Sports. But that being said, so you look at, I want to look at your career a little bit, not particularly like before Virginia Tech and not particularly away from Virginia Tech, but when you look at your time in Blacksburg and everything, people are going to ask you the obvious questions and everything, favorite games, favorite calls, favorite places. Is there one Virginia Tech game, in your opinion, that gets underappreciated that you called that maybe nobody ever talks about?
Wow. An underappreciated game. Okay, in 2005, you have to check my years. I'll have Nick do that. Hokies beat West Virginia in Morgantown pretty good.
34-17.
34.
That was Pat White and Steve Slayton really getting playing time.
But that
for
was
the
a
first
West
time.
Virginia team that if you go back and look, they finished somewhere in the top 5.
It was the only game they lost, and it was either Oklahoma they smashed in the BCS Bowl that year,
or
I think
Georgia,
that's right. Or one of those two teams.
Yeah, so WVU finished 11-1, ranked in the top 5, and their only loss, they got blown out at home by the Hokies. But the time the game was played, West Virginia wasn't ranked. So our staff doesn't get credit for blowing out a top 5 team on the road. Right. No one ever said, well, Frank Beamer never beat a top 5 team on the road because technically, WVU wasn't ranked 5th or 4th, whatever the game was. And so I think that was a really good WVU team, and they hated the Hokies. I mean, we went in there and, we had left the Big East, and that was a hostile crowd that day. And it was one of West Virginia's greatest teams. Other than their 88 team with Major Harris that went undefeated, that was WVU's best team, and they won the Sugar Bowl, and they got rolled and boat raced on their home field by the Hokies. So that would be the one that I would say.
That's a great answer, and that was a huge one because for everything you just said. But we knew going into it, that was the last time the teams were going to play for a long time.
Correct.
And also, based on what happened to Virginia Tech there 2 years before. And that, I think it was a Wednesday night game.
It was.
And they boat raced Tech that night because they were so mad that Tech was leaving the Big East.
Wednesday
and a lot of Virginia Tech fans had some pretty bad experiences.
I remember something Coach Beamer said on the radio show that week of that game, because we talked about we're going back to Morgantown and they're really good, and Pat White and the crowd and the Heisman Trophy candidate and how good WVU is. And he said on their Hokie Hotline or Tech Talk Live, I don't know if we had changed the name yet. He said, Coach Beamer said, the louder they cheer, talking about the WVU fans, the louder they cheer, the better we'll play. And I was like ready to run through the wall at Bull and Bones that night. And I think the team was really prepared. That was a great win that it's evaporated from everyone's memory.
Yeah. Was there a Virginia Tech team during your time that you think was better than its record indicated?
Well, we had some teams that probably had that underachieved.
I'm actually would think back to the 80s in this, back when Beamer had that really tough schedule that he inherited from Dooley, and we were playing like Oklahoma and South Carolina and Clemson like back to back. And we still somehow go like 6-5, like 1990 or something like that, when they lost to Georgia Tech 6-3. Georgia Tech won the national title. So probably some of those teams would probably qualify for that.
Tough, gritty teams. The game at Oklahoma, I think we blocked a punt. We had the lead, and I thought, we got something going here, and maybe we'll win this game. That would have been a very big win to beat them there. But they came back, and the QB that day was a guy named Cale Gundy, who ended up coaching, and I'd like to see the Hokies and Sooners play again. That was a fun place to do.
That would be fun, yeah.
You mentioned Florida State. We went down to FSU, and when they had Dion, and I think Will Fuhrer, we came down. We took a 7-0 lead. They took a field goal, 7-3. We blocked a punt. I think we're up 14-3 in the first quarter.
Yeah. And
we go to the commercial, and they start playing the war chant. And Burnip goes, "We're in trouble." I go, "What are you talking about? We're winning 14-3." He said, Mike says, "We've made them mad." we woke them up, and it's still the first quarter. And that ended up being a great game and came down to the end. Florida State won, but I got a real sense of how good our program could be when we're coming off probation, and you can see how we were playing against those teams on the road. And the Noles are really good. And they had to play a great game just to beat us.
That was when Tech sold the home game.
Yeah, in Orlando, right?
Orlando.
The neutral site game in Orlando?
The neutral site game in
And they
Orlando.
ran out the horse and everything. Right. I've heard that story before. Yeah. I mentioned favorite venues and everything, and I'm going to cheat a little bit and ask kind of a side plot to that question. Kind of similar to this previous question, what's an off-the-wall place that was one of your favorite places to call a game?
Give me one for football and for basketball.
Yeah. Like you guys have been like Western Michigan and stuff. I'm not saying Western Michigan's up there, but you guys have been some crazy places. So like an off-the-wall place to call a game in football and basketball.
Well, my favorite place to ever call a game in football was the Orange Bowl because the radio TV booths hung from the upper deck. It was not in the press box. There was this.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
There was this weird. You would walk down as if you were in a submarine. You would walk down these catwalks, and the crowd at Miami would jump, and the booth would sway. And it was not very big. It was cramped, and there was no air conditioning, and it was always hot. So, I liked the Orange Bowl. Basketball, off the wall. First of all, there's no place better to call a game than Lane.
Yeah.
So when I say that was my favorite place, other than Lane, that was
put it
my
on
favorite
record. Yeah,
place.
other than Lane.
But I think that you were going at. We played in San Juan and in Mexico, and in both cases, the one in San Juan was open air, and there were birds flying back and forth at the San Juan shootout. In Mexico, we played in Cancun, and the court, it wasn't long enough. It wasn't a 90.
So Jay Billis can't do his like walking 94 feet thing.
It wasn't long enough, and it didn't have the right marks. And Seth kept running out of the coach's box, and the referee says, "You're out of the box." And he says, "There's no line. We're in Mexico." And the referee went to our trainer and got a piece of athletic tape and put it down and told Seth, "Don't walk by this line."
Oh, nice. Speaking of Mexico,
that was the game. I think someone scored 40 points. Was it Dorenzo Hudson?
That wasn't the Mexico game. That was on an island in the Caribbean.
Who did y'all play in Mexico? Do you remember who you played?
Seton Hall.
Seton Hall.
And their coach was.
Maybe that was.
It was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, Zoe scored 40 points.
And Delaney was out, remember?
And both coaches were crossing midcourt because it wasn't long enough. And I forget the name of the Seton Hall coach. He was acting up too. So the officials put they used athletic tape to draw coaches' boxes.
Wow.
And we won the game, and these fans stormed the court.
Yeah, they didn't have the space to put all of them on there because it wasn't long enough.
I figured you were going to pick some random A10 gym from back in the day.
The Rose Hill Gym up at Fordham.
I was going to say like somebody like Fordham.
That was about 140 degrees.
Do you remember the game Tech came back 10 points down in like 1 minute?
I do. That was the best comeback I think we ever had.
It was rare you got a Virginia Tech basketball game on television back then. This was like 97 or somewhere like that. But I remember I didn't know the game was on television, and I found it on some scratchy channel which you could, you got to adjust the rabbit ears or whatever. Randomly found
the
it.
Rose Hill Gym, I think, is the oldest continuous used Division I gym.
Wow.
Fordham.
Wow.
How far we've come.
Yeah.
That was a conference game.
The Rose Hill Gym in the Bronx, New York. How about that? Interesting. Speaking of Mexico, you guys played in the Sun Bowl in 2013, ironically enough, against UCLA.
Yes.
Speaking of off-the-wall places, what was it like doing a game in the Sun Bowl down in El Paso?
Boy, Logan took a hit. Logan Thomas.
He dished one out, too.
He did. I always thought it was interesting that was and still is an ACC bowl tie-in because it's so far away, and I don't know that people. Well, maybe this year we can go to the Sun Bowl, but I enjoyed it. It was something new and different, and it was cool to play a Pac-10 team. Now it would be, I don't know what the bowl tie-in is for that bowl game, but that was a game that I thought we had a pretty good chance to win, but they got us at the end too.
What game are you looking the most forward to calling this year? Is anything that you've got your calendar at home and your game circled and say, I can't wait to do that?
If I don't say VMI 1-0, Coach Franklin is going to send me a text.
Yeah.
So VMI.
The 80th renewal of the original military battle of the South.
He's ready for
Tech and VMI.
Yeah.
However,
besides VMI,
I'll say this. I am really looking forward to a Saturday night in College Park, Maryland. And I think that it's going to tell us a lot about both teams. I know what it means for them. I think, and I know our fans are going to pack that stadium. And do you remember when we first got into the ACC, we'd go down to Chapel Hill and it was a home game.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'd go to Duke and it was a home game. And I'd like to see that again.
Well, I went to that 2005 game at Maryland, and there was a lot of Virginia Tech fans there. It wasn't quite like taking over UNC or Duke,
Yes.
but it was something like that.
So, and people have heard me talk about this before, because when we would play them often in football, we're in Blacksburg. This is the home of the Hokies. It is, obviously. However, there are 10 times, maybe more now, at least 10 times more Tech alumni and fans within an hour of CQ Stadium, Old Bird Stadium, right? There are more Tech fans near their stadium than Lane. And so I'd like to see a lot of orange and maroon on that Saturday night.
Well, and that's another sad thing about not playing any North Carolina teams. Like growing up in Danville, like my dad was a season ticket holder at Virginia Tech, but it was easier for him to get to games at Duke and UNC. It was only an hour drive,
Right.
And
It's a day trip.
right.
And by the way, I think it's great. So, every athletics administrator and coach wants to play all the games at home. I like the fact that we would play at Maryland, and a chance for those people that always drive 4.5, 5 hours down to a game and battle the trucks on I-81. Let's give them a chance to see us in person. So I didn't like FedEx Field. Hopefully when the Commanders finish their stadium, we'll have a chance to maybe play at their new place. But this year, the game at Maryland, because this only going to be the two games, the third and fourth games. So this is our only game in the D.C. area on the schedule.
Your last game at FedEx was it Boise or Cincinnati?
Cincinnati.
Yeah. Was Travis Kelce on that team? Yes. May have just missed
He
him.
He was, yes.
Okay. All right.
Wow, he played in that game?
Here we are talking about the Sun Bowl and Travis Kelce on a podcast. Interesting.
How about that?
So, yeah. So with that being said, I want to talk about, and Nick brought this up, and I'm glad that he did. You always love to talk about the SMA program. Both Nick and I are lucky to be alums of the program too. What does the year look like for the SMA program at Virginia Tech, and where do you view the program right now as a whole, as compared to when you first took over a couple years ago?
Well, first of all, I'm really proud of you guys and what you're doing, and so many of our alumni. Jack Brizendine, who you guys are close with, who handles our comms for the school now, put together a great list of, I think there's 73 SMA alums and where everyone is working and what he or she is doing. And I'm so proud of, people know what you're doing, and Nick here at TSL. And I think people know that Jake Lyman, who sat in that chair, is the women's voice at Vanderbilt for their women's team and does the morning talk show on the biggest station in Nashville. Giovanni Heater, who sat in that chair, is basically now the Evan Hughes at Texas A&M. I talked with their people. They love him. We've got people all over the country doing TV. Nolan Knight is sports director, Channel 8 in Richmond. I'm leaving people out. Shakir is in Atlanta. He's a lead producer for Turner. And they're doing the NHL show and the NBA. The NBA show that's done out of Atlanta still, out of Turner, with Shaq and that group. And he's on that. And the NCAA tournament, he's producing that. And it's so cool to see these people that have come through our program living their dreams. And I get a great kick out of it. And we're going to have 300 students in SMA this year.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work. We've hired 2 new faculty members too.
How many did you have your first year?
12.
Yeah.
Talk about building a program.
Yeah, right.
So I was talking with Tim Sands, and I said, Dr. Sands, when I started, we had like 15 kids in this program, and now we have 300 and something, and then, tuition's 30, out of state, 40 grand a year. Can we maybe, work on a commission basis? And he goes, higher education doesn't work that way, but I appreciate your asking.
Yeah.
He's Dr. Sands, he's been a big supporter of this, of SMA, and he's everything that we've asked for. We want to be able to do this. We want to do that. Athletics and the university overall has been great. And this doesn't happen without Dr. Sands green lighting it and buying into this could be a really successful, they look through things through the academic lens. This could be a really successful academic program at Tech. And so when I see you sitting there and how well you're doing and the 71 other alums that we've got around the country that are working in the business. It's really fulfilling.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. What does your next month look like as a whole? I know VMI on September 5th. It's a little bit of a later season opener this year, so still about a month until kickoff. So what does your next month look like as the voice of Virginia Tech football?
We've
as
got
a
a couple of podcasts. Mike and I will start our Level 7 podcast. We'll have our coaches and players learning an awful lot about what our team is going to look like. And as a broadcaster, I want to make sure that what Mike and I are calling formations is what they call them. So we'll be sitting down with our coordinators and saying, I mean, I don't know, and I don't know that we will know how much nickel we're going to play potentially or what they're going to call certain things. So there'll be a lot of learning for us, and then some players to get to know too. And then, the anticipation for this season is really, really high, and I'm glad it's back. I think we'll probably be, I don't know how many tickets are less, but we're going to sell out this VMI game. I'm surprised that it hasn't already sold out, and some others. I think we're going to have a really good season from a ticket sales standpoint. The Hokie Nation has bought in, and we should. We've got an elite coach here, and we've got some really, really elite players on our team, as you guys know.
From the blue waters of the Chesapeake Bay to the hills of Tennessee. Bill, thanks for hopping on. We really appreciate it.
Guys, thanks.
All right, for Bill Roth, Chris Coleman, Nick Brown, I'm Carter Hill saying so long from episode 494 of the Tech Sideline Podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you very soon.